May 6th, 1967. Mossdale Caverns, Yorkshire, England. The water was rising fast, cold, dark, and silent, until it wasn't. Derek Hersey pressed his body against the rock, trying to stay above the freezing flow. The narrow passage gave him almost no space. Water rushed past his legs, stronger every second. His light shook as his hands trembled. There was no clear way out anymore. How did it come to this? Just hours ago, he was moving forward with control, calm, confident. Now, deep inside one of England's most dangerous caves, the situation had changed. The sound of water filled everything. It was getting louder, closer. He knew what that meant. Flooding. And inside a cave like Mossdale, flooding didn't give second chances. A few days earlier, May 3rd, 1967, Mossdale, Moor, Yorkshire, England. The weather didn't seem unusual at first. Light clouds moved across the sky. The ground above the cave was damp, but not alarming. Derek had seen worse. He had come here alone. That wasn't strange for him. He preferred it that way. Less distraction, more control. Mossdale Caverns had a reputation. Tight tunnels, long, winding passages, and one serious danger water. When rain fell above, it didn't stay there. It rushed underground, filling the cave fast. Derek knew all of this, but he also knew his own limits, or at least he believed he did. He packed his gear carefully. Helmet, light, basic supplies, no wasted weight. Every movement planned. He had done this before, many times, and every time he made it back. That confidence followed him as he stepped into the cave. At first, everything felt normal, but deep underground, small changes can mean everything. Derek Hersey was not new to danger. In fact, he often walked straight into it. Among cavers, he had a nickname, Dr. Death. Not because he was careless, but because he kept surviving places where others wouldn't even go. Tight caves, flood-prone tunnels, long, solo trips underground. Derek had done them all. He trusted his skills. And more importantly, he trusted his judgment. He wasn't reckless in the usual sense. He planned his routes. He understood cave systems. He knew how fast conditions could change. But there was something else driving him, a need to go further, deeper, beyond what others had already explored. That mindset made him respected, but it also made him take risks. Derek often preferred to explore alone. For him, it meant full control. No delays, no disagreements, just him and the cave. But solo caving came with one hard truth: if something went wrong, no one was there to help. Still, he accepted that. Mossdale Caverns wasn't just another cave. It was known across England as one of the most dangerous systems. Narrow passages forced cavers to crawl. Water levels could rise without warning, and once flooding started, escape routes could disappear in minutes. Many avoided it. Derek didn't. To him, Mossdale was a challenge worth taking. He had studied it. He understood the risks, at least on paper. But caves are not just maps and plans. They change, quietly, constantly, and sometimes faster than anyone expects. When Derek entered Mossdale that day, he wasn't chasing danger. He believed he could handle it. But deep underground, confidence can slowly turn into something else. And by the time you realize it, the way back may already be gone. The entrance to Mossdale Caverns didn't look dramatic. Just a low opening in the ground, hidden among rough moorland. Quiet, still, but Derek knew better. He crouched down and slipped inside, leaving the open sky behind. Within seconds, daylight faded. The air turned colder, damp. The walls closed in tight around him. He switched on his light. A narrow tunnel stretched ahead. Rock pressed close on both sides. In some places, he had to crawl. In others, he twisted his body just to move forward. Every movement was slow and careful. This was normal. Mossdale wasn't a cave you walked through. It was a cave you fought your way into. Derek moved deeper, following the known route. The ground was wet beneath him. Small streams of water ran along the rock floor, cutting through the passages. Nothing unusual yet. He checked his path often. He knew the layout: main passages, side routes, tight squeezes. Every turn mattered. One wrong move could lead to a dead end. Time passed quietly. The deeper he went, the more the cave changed. The air felt heavier. The silence grew stronger. No wind, no outside sound, just the steady drip of water and the soft scrape of his gear against stone. Then came the first real challenge. A long, narrow section where the ceiling dropped low. Derek had to lie flat and push himself forward inch by inch. Water flowed beneath him, cold against his chest. He kept moving. This was part of the journey. Expected, controlled. But something else was happening, something easy to miss. The water was moving just a little faster than before. Derek noticed it, but he didn't stop. And that small change would soon become something much bigger. At first, it was easy to ignore. The water felt colder. The flow felt stronger. Derek paused for a moment, lifting his head to listen. The sound had changed. It wasn't just a quiet trickle anymore. It carried a deeper, steady force. Subtle, but there. He had felt this before. Water inside caves doesn't rise slowly when rain hits hard above ground. It builds pressure somewhere unseen, then moves fast. Derek checked the passage ahead. Still clear, tight, but passable. Behind him, the route back looked the same as before. Nothing blocked, nothing obviously wrong. So he kept going. That decision mattered. He pushed forward into another narrow section. This one twisted sharply, forcing him to turn his shoulders sideways. The rock pressed hard against his body. His light bounced off wet stone, creating shadows that shifted with every movement. The water followed him. Now it was up to his arms, flowing faster, colder. He stopped again, this time longer. He thought about turning back. The idea was there, clear in his mind. He had seen caves flood before. He knew how quickly things could change. But he also knew something else. He had been in worse situations and made it out. That memory gave him confidence. Maybe too much. Derek took a breath and moved forward again. The passage opened slightly ahead, just enough to sit up. A small relief. But the water didn't slow down. It kept pushing through the cave, filling every low space, finding every path. And now the sound was louder, not distant anymore. Closer, more constant. Derek looked back once more. The way out was still there, but it didn't look the same as before, and he didn't realize it yet. But he was already running out of time. The change came fast. What had been a steady flow turned into rushing water. It surged through the passage, filling the space Derek had just crossed. The narrow sections behind him were no longer simple obstacles. They were becoming traps. Derek moved quickly now. He turned back, aiming for the way out. But within minutes, the water had risen higher. The low passages were filling. Some were already submerged. The route he had taken in felt tighter, smaller, and far more dangerous. He stopped. Going back might mean diving through flooded tunnels, in freezing water, with no clear visibility. That was a risk he couldn't ignore. So he made another decision. He moved forward instead, deeper into the cave, searching for higher ground, a place where the water wouldn't reach as fast. His light cut through the darkness as he pushed ahead, his movements no longer slow and steady, but urgent. The cave didn't make it easy. Tight turns, sharp rocks, low ceilings. Every second felt longer as the sound of water chased him. It echoed through the stone, growing louder with each step. Then he found a small chamber, not large, but higher than the passages behind him. The floor rose slightly above the waterline. For now, it was dry enough to stand. Derek climbed into it and stopped. He listened. The water kept rising. It crept into the chamber slowly, spreading across the floor, inch by inch, silent but unstoppable. He checked his light. Still working. His breathing was heavy now, controlled, but faster than before. This wasn't a short delay anymore. He was trapped. Outside, the rain continued. Inside, the cave was filling. And Derek knew one thing for sure. If the water didn't stop, he wouldn't be able to stay here for long. The cold set in slowly, then all at once. At first, Derek could ignore it. His body was still warm from movement, his breathing steady, his mind focused. But the water didn't stop rising. It reached his boots, then his legs, freezing. He shifted his position, trying to stay on the highest part of the chamber. But there wasn't much space. The rock walls pressed close. The ceiling hung low. Every option felt limited. Time passed. He couldn't see it, couldn't measure it, but he felt it. The cold started to bite deeper. His hands grew stiff. Small movements became harder. He flexed his fingers, trying to keep control. He knew what was coming. Hypothermia. He had read about it, heard stories, even experienced early signs before. But this was different. This time, there was no easy way out. He checked his light again. Still working, but dimmer than before. The beam cut weakly across the wet rock. Shadows stretched and shifted. The darkness around him felt heavier. He tried to stay calm. Panic would waste energy, and energy was something he couldn't afford to lose. So he focused on small things, breathing, staying still, thinking clearly. But the cold kept spreading. His legs felt numb now. His body began to shake without control. Not violently at first, just small tremors, then stronger. His thoughts slowed. Simple decisions started to feel harder. Should he move again? Try another passage? Or stay here and hope the water would stop rising? Both choices carried risk, and he knew it. The sound of water echoed louder through the chamber now, not rushing past surrounding him, closing in. Derek looked at the dark passage ahead. He still had one option left, but it was dangerous. And once he made that choice, there would be no turning back. Derek knew he couldn't wait any longer. The water had climbed higher. It now covered most of the chamber floor. The small space that once felt like safety was shrinking fast. Staying here meant one thing eventually. There would be nowhere left to breathe. He looked toward the passage ahead. Dark, narrow, and now partially flooded. If he moved forward, he might find higher ground. Or he might enter a section already filled with water. There was no way to be sure. He forced his body to move. Every step felt heavier. His legs were numb, his balance uncertain. He used the walls to guide himself, fingers dragging along cold, wet rock. His light flickered slightly as he pushed into the next passage. The water met him immediately, up to his waist now, moving fast. He stopped at the edge of a tight section, one he had passed earlier, but it looked different now. Smaller, darker. The water surged through it, filling the space almost completely. To get through, he would have to go under. Even for a few seconds, it was a risk. Cold water, no visibility, tight rock on all sides. One mistake, and he wouldn't come back up. Derek hesitated. This was the moment. Wait and hope the water drops. Or move and risk everything. His breathing grew faster. Not panic, but close. He had survived dangerous caves before by trusting his instincts. Now, those instincts were being tested. He leaned forward slightly, lowering his light toward the water. The beam disappeared into the dark current, swallowed instantly. No clear path, no certainty, just a choice. And in a place like this, a single decision can decide everything. The water didn't slow down. It kept rising, filling every space, every gap, every path Derek had once used. The cave that had been tight but passable was now closing in completely. He didn't move forward. Not yet. The risk was too high. One wrong move in that flooded passage, and it would be over instantly. No space to turn, no air to reach. So he stayed. The chamber was nearly gone now. Water pressed against his body, up to his chest, cold beyond anything he had felt before. His muscles barely responded. Even holding his position took effort. His light grew weaker. The beam flickered across the rock, then steadied, then dimmed again. The darkness around him felt heavier, thicker, like it was closing in. The shaking had stopped. That wasn't a good sign. His body was too cold to react now. Numb, slow, heavy. He tried to think, focus, find a way. But his thoughts came slower, harder to hold. Simple ideas slipped away before he could act on them. Time lost its meaning. Minutes felt like seconds, or maybe longer. The sound of water filled everything. No silence, no break, just a constant deep rush surrounding him. Derek leaned back against the rock. There was nowhere else to go. No higher ground, no dry space, just cold water, rising slowly, steadily. His light flickered again. For a moment, it almost went out, then came back, weaker than before. He looked toward the passage one last time, still dark, still flooded, still uncertain. And in that moment, deep inside Mossdale Caverns, the fight began to fade, and the cave, slowly, took over. The cave stayed silent long after the rain stopped. Days passed before anyone could safely enter Mossdale Caverns again. Outside, the water levels slowly dropped. The force that had flooded the system began to ease. But inside, the damage was already done. Rescue teams prepared carefully. They knew what they were walking into. Mossdale was never forgiving. Even in calmer conditions, it demanded precision and caution. This time, it carried something heavier, uncertainty. They moved slowly through the passages Derek had taken. Every section told part of the story. Mud lines marked how high the water had risen. Tight tunnels showed where escape would have been impossible once flooded. The deeper they went, the clearer it became he had been trapped with no safe way out. Then, deep inside the cave, they found him. Derek Hersey was located in a confined section, not far from where the water would have fully closed in. His position showed effort. He had tried to move, tried to find a way through. But the conditions had left no real options. The cave had filled too fast, too completely. There had been no clear path to safety. The recovery was difficult. Mossdale did not give access easily, even in better conditions. The team worked with care, understanding both the risk and the weight of the moment. Outside, the story spread. An experienced caver, strong, skilled, careful. And still, it hadn't been enough. Mossdale Caverns gained a deeper reputation after that. Not just dangerous, but final. Derek's story became a quiet warning in the caving world, a reminder that experience can guide decisions, but it cannot control nature. Underground, conditions change fast, and sometimes faster than anyone can react. There was no single mistake, no clear failure, just a series of small decisions meeting a sudden change in the environment. And that was enough, because in places like Mossdale, you don't always get a second chance. And that is where the story truly ends.